Hello, LinkedIn land and beyond. It's me, Toby, Freeformers Unplugged with Emilie. And this is our last live stream / episode, depending if you're listening on podcast, before we wrap up for the summer. Not work-wise, we've still got lots of work to do over the summer, but as far as live streaming and podcasting and blogging is concerned, this is it until September. So if you are watching, get your fill now, because you are not going to get any more until September. Hello, Emilie. How are you?
Hello, I've got real end of term vibes, which is not good because I have another 3.5 days until I go on holiday, and I need to be working every single minute of that so that I can actually take a holiday. Although, yes, I am taking my laptop just in case.
Are you? Well, we've not had
Yeah,
that
I am.
conversation. Okay.
No,
Well,
I think I can't go abroad for 2 weeks and not take my laptop.
okay. Well, that is probably something for us to discuss in your handover. But that's not what we're doing. This isn't like a live
Oh, a
stream
live
handover.
handover. Could you imagine? How exciting would that be? How
That'd be
boring would that be?
well, I don't know. There'd be a hell of a lot of accountability. I think.
Yeah, for you
That,
to do the
yeah,
work you
yeah,
said you'd do.
exactly. So
That
yeah,
is always the way, though. I was talking to one of a client who was going on leave today. So I was talking to him yesterday. He's like, "Oh, I've got so much to do. I'm wrapping up, spending all this time writing this great handover." He's like, "I just know nothing is going to happen while I'm away."
Do you feel the same way?
No, I trust you.
That's not why I asked. I know you trust me, but do you think nothing will happen whilst you're away?
Oh no, stuff will happen. Stuff will definitely happen. It
Yeah,
moves too
is it the
fast for it
right?
to happen.
Is it
Is
the
it the
right
right
stuff?
stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Well.
Even I'm self-aware enough to acknowledge that could be the case that I've done stuff. It just wasn't the right stuff. In any case, this week's live stream is called "What Did We Win at the British Training Awards?" Essentially, yeah. So
A little
I
self-centered, but I'll allow it.
well, I it's episode 20 of this season. It's kind of the last one we're going to do until the autumn now, and you know what? I was like, who cares? Let's do it because I don't think we are very good at talking about some of the awesome work we're doing. So I know we talk about, our thoughts and feelings about the world of work, but I thought, we can afford one episode where we just do a little bit of a deep dive on a couple of awesome things that we've done. So as ever, as I've been the arrogant one who's picked this as a topic, Emilie is going to be asking me the 5 questions about this given topic. So yeah, I suppose I'll just hand over to you, Emilie, and you can start interviewing me.
So just to say, it is real end of term vibes. It will be end of term vibes, and I think it might be a little chaotic. But so full confession, Toby writes award submissions. He's incredible. He's amazing. He doesn't even send them to me anymore because I just make comments on them. So he doesn't even send them to me. So I haven't even seen the submissions that got us to win yesterday. So that is my first question. Uh, what did you submit?
Well, so I submitted well, the 2 we've won, obviously, but I also submitted some of the work we've done with Galt over in Oregon in the States and Crystal Care Collection, part of L&T Development, who are based up north in Leeds, or just outside Leeds, aren't they? And so unfortunately those didn't win, but those projects got nominated twice each. But we also went in for Learning Provider of the Year. And we also went in for we didn't, but the L&D Team of the Year with our client Wix, the DIY store. I have to say that every time because I was like, it's not the people who make websites or give you a tool to make websites, it's the DIY store. And so let's focus on the wins. The L&D Provider of the Year title was Making Employee Experience a Product. I mean, I'm looking at these now and going, I can't even remember writing that. And then the Wix one was turning L&D into an employee experience engine. So there's a hell of a lot of employee experience going around in Toby's head in whatever February, March, April time when we wrote this. So yeah, that's kind of the headline. That's the headline of what we submitted.
Okay, so question 2, talk to me about employee experience as a product. I mean, beyond the submission itself, I guess. When we talk about employee experience in a product, what are we focusing on, and I guess why do you think we won?
Well, So I was going back through the submission, and I think, because it was the British Training Awards as opposed to the British HR Awards, which we were at last time, and unfortunately didn't win anything. I think there's a really strong narrative here about how L&D kind of amplifies itself within an organization, both for the Freeformers submission and the Wix one, but I'll talk about the Freeformers one. So, everything that we have done in our careers, again, looking at the submission, is like there are key moments in our careers where we've been tasked with doing the right thing, but not necessarily had the environment to be able to design the right thing. Because if you're, regardless of how much you improve the process of doing L&D, let's say, you're still probably going to end up producing L&D stuff, which doesn't really make much sense. And I think the submission kind of looks at our two different viewpoints and where we've kind of got to the same conclusion in that. And then it kind of coalesces around that you can take this new approach, which I think, especially in the early days, I think it's probably still on our website, CX for EX, how to use customer experience design principles to design an employee experience, and how does L&D become the department that kind of drives that initiative. I think we're unified in that we believe that human-centered design, or the double diamond process, is a really good way of doing that. The tricky thing that is historically that's always been, I suppose, difficult for internal teams to adopt for two reasons. Number one, it's doing the process of a project vastly different to what you were doing before, and change is hard, especially when you've still got to do stuff. And I think that's common across the second point, which is which is about it being taking the time and effort to do as well. So, or did I say that was the first one? I can't. No, the first one was change, and the second one is time and effort. So they're the two reasons why practicing human-centered design is really difficult. I suppose there's kind of a third, that the environment you deliver it in may enable you or disable you from doing it effectively as well. And when I say the environment, I kind of mean the operating system of the wider HR or people function, which L&D typically sits in, as well as the technology and data it has access to as well, and also the kind of cross-functional collaboration that may happen across HR teams as well. So, okay, so a list of two has become very long all of a sudden. But the work that we've done, particularly in the past 12 to 18 months, with using a human-centered design process, and we hang our hat on the double diamond process because it's openly licensed. Like, it's not, there isn't anyone trying to sell double diamond stuff. It's like, well, actually, if it's good enough for customer experience design and product design, then why would we not use it ourselves? I don't subscribe that L&D needs its own separate design process. Don't think we're that particularly unique that we have to do that. But also, what we've got in here is a lot about AI, of course, and AI helping expedite and scale the process of doing human-centered design, particularly in the discovery process. And I think most of what what I talked about in the submission is about that discovery process, and making that part of an ongoing operating rhythm rather than a project by project operating rhythm. And when you build AI into that, obviously you can do some really cool things, which the submission goes into. And then the last thing, and then I'll let you ask like your sub question sets, is that and I'm not sure how common this is. Like, we're not building our own AI tool. I have seen, we have seen too many AI tools be created and kind of go, why would you ever buy that AI tool? It doesn't make too much sense when you've probably got one of Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, or Claude within your organization. You can actually probably build a version of that within your company quite quickly. And so, using the tools that clients already have, rather than trying to offer them a new technology, like a new platform, a new technology, enhancing, changing their process and enhancing that with AI with their tools. I think that's kind of where we are as a L&D provider of the year. That's what we're doing, which I'd like to say, I don't know, can't say with any substance that no one else is doing, but I sure as hell haven't seen or heard anything of it, to be honest.
Of all the stuff that we've done in the last 12 to 18 months that's relevant to us winning Learning Provider of the Year, what are you most proud of?
Ooh. That's a good question. It changes so quickly, actually, because I would have said everything that the hmm. That's a really good question.
That
So
is the point.
yeah, I
How the
know,
format
right?
works.
But usually, well, you know me, it takes a lot to make me shut up, essentially. And you've asked a tricky question that's made me go, hmm. I think everything that I just said in terms of what is the process of us doing discovery, because we know that if we have good insight, we will design better stuff, and our stakeholders, our clients, whoever, will trust us to build better stuff because it's based on evidence. Like I said, that's always been our philosophy, and we're just, fortunate enough to start Freeformers in a time where, when AI or generative AI, Chat GPT mainly, was really kind of coming to the fore in terms of what organizations were doing. And so myself in particular would have gone, right, let's build an AI tool to do this. In fact, I did definitely say that at one point. Let's build an AI tool that can do this for our clients. But in a very typical Emilie way, you said no. But no for good reason, and spent a lot of time and effort building out what the actual process looks like and how you use AI both ethically, responsibly, um, and genuinely with human in the loop as well. I think the proliferation of AI tools at the moment is put something in, get something out, use it. And that really doesn't make sense or work when you're trying to make your business, your employee proposition, you know, whatever you're offering to another person doesn't really make it that unique if you do that approach, because it just becomes all vanilla. Um and yeah, so I think you building that process, because if you for you to have confidence in being able to kind of for us to do it over and over again, there's a lot of rigor that goes behind that. For me to have the confidence to do that, there's not that much rigor. There's like, yeah, this is great, let's go ahead and do it. But you have an idea, and then Emilie applies the rigor to it, and we end up with something that's really cool. And I don't know whether that's just because we're writing a proposal at the moment that has all of this in, but certainly the opportunity to pause and reflect on what that looks like has meant we've come up with a better thing. It also means we won't build an AI tool in a world where I'm seeing a couple of independent L&D HR consultancies, even small kind of L&D consultancies as well, building AI tools, and I'm trying to sell them at an incredible amount of money, and I'm just like, well, I don't that just doesn't sit well with me. And plus, we're all relatively new to this, and therefore we're all kind of finding our way. And for you to peddle something that's 10 grand, 20 grand, 100 grand in some cases, in a world where ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot might just get that functionality tomorrow anyway, it's a huge amount of money and risk that you're putting into it. So I think our tool agnostic, and I've now started calling them the big four, right? Those tools, because like,
I like it.
but I
They are
did
the
a
big
training
four.
course on it. It's like they're the big four. They're the ones that everyone knows. I know there's Perplexity, and we had DeepSeek for a while, and all this kind of stuff. But they're the big four. And the thing that we have is that fluency between all four of those as well, because all four of them are different. They all pretty much do similar things, but they are all different. And I said it to you, right? It's like I I can't tell you the name of one programming language, yet alone four. But it's like learning four programming languages, in the what I say and do with Claude to Copilot to Gemini to ChatGPT, if I say the same thing to all of them, the output is substantially different. And so the way I have to talk to it, the way I have to program it, engage with it, is different as well. And so I think that technical fluency across those four areas is really, really important, because what we're not going and saying everyone should be using Copilot. In fact, that is the last thing you will ever hear me say. Everyone should use Copilot. But I'm also not saying everyone should use Claude either. It's like, use the tool that you have, because you can make it work. How you make it work might be slightly different. So really long-winded way of saying what am I proud of? I think it's the work you've done.
Oh, thanks. But also, sidebar, could you really not name one single programming language?
Java. C plus plus.
C
Is that
plus, C
one?
plus plus, C sharp, and just C as well. That's 4.
Flash.
Flash.
Is Flash not a programming language as well? You have
Okay.
Java, because you have JavaScript versus Flash. Was not like a big HTML.
Right. Okay. That wasn't a question. That was you just threw me for a loop there, and then I was starting thinking of how many I could think of, and then I was still definitely listening to what you were saying.
Well, how many did you
So
come up with? Just before you move on, how many? Python.
no, yeah. So you know loads. I
I know.
didn't get your number because
I googled
you
it. Come
Googled
on.
Python. You
No, I
Googled Python.
googled programming languages just to see. But I know of Python. I just didn't. I just look. You put me on the spot.
That's what this is all for, but maybe not necessarily about random programming languages.
Yeah.
Go, Ruby. There's all sorts of. I find out new ones all the time. Pete, my husband is a software engineer, I may have mentioned it more than once, keeps coming up with things always like, oh yeah, Docker and Kubernetes and this and that and others and .NET Core and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that is so many words. But I think every industry is full of jargon, isn't it? And learning is no better. So there was a great bit at the Learning Awards. So Lucy Porter does the comedy stand up and hosts the awards, and she does like a little sat at the front. Probably it's only 5 minutes, maybe 10. I don't know. It flies by. It's so fast. Which is this great thing about how I have seen it before because she also did at the HR Awards, which is a great thing about how your industry is full of acronyms. And then she just rattles through it. I'm not going to even attempt to do it because there is just so much jargon, just rattles through acronyms. And in the end, she goes, "I think your industry is just full of BS, isn't it?" After she's been through all of these, and it's brilliant. But she was wonderful, and she recognised us, so taking that win. But moving on from how wonderful Lucy Porter is to the other award that we won. So this one is different because this was enabling another team. So it's not really a question, but can you just tell me more? Tell me more about the work that we did with Wix that helped them win Learning Team of the Year.
Well, I think it was to try and help Wix do what we do, essentially. I think, with every client and with most L&D providers, that's not fair, but there's a lot out there that do it for you. Pay me some money and I will use my time and resource to deliver you something. And in some instances, you absolutely need that. That's fine. I get that. In fact, most of the work I've done previously has been around there. Why would you do that? Usually, there's probably more money in it, to be completely honest. So, these learning design agencies can command huge amounts of fees to build stuff. And in some instances, don't question whether it's the right stuff either, because you get the brief from the client, they go out to tender and say, right, we want someone to build us a thing to achieve this. And you then sign the contract and then you go away and build it. So in that process, it makes no sense because at no point is anyone using any critical thought about, is this the right thing to do? And invariably, some of the proposals I'd have written in my agency career were, this is the brief that we've been given. Me as a commercial director wasn't go, oh, let me interrogate the brief and push back and try and figure out if that is the real issue. What I would do is like, what is the best idea I can come up with to fulfill that brief? The most creative, the most out there, the most innovative. What can I do in that space? Because that would be the thing that sits like head and shoulders above any the other proposals. But to a conversation we've had many a time, you don't really then design the right thing. You design a cool thing, and in instances, an award-winning thing, but it isn't necessarily the right thing. And that's where I had that crisis of confidence in various jobs in the past, where it's like, I want to be designing the right thing. I've done cool stuff now and realized that it's kind of pointless designing cool stuff. If it doesn't work and do the thing it's supposed to do. Or in one very specific instance, annoy your brother-in-law. But that is a whole different story that I think I've covered before. So Wix are in the were in a very similar situation. They were having a lot of requests from the business coming through, and it was like, build this e-learning, build this e-learning, build this thing, build this thing, build this thing. And when you get yourself into that cycle, having been there ourselves, right, and some of my good friends in the industry as well, it's hard to break that cycle. It really is, because you've got to design and deliver stuff and handle these requests. And so unless you take the time to stop, pause, and rethink your operating model, it's going to be very hard to do that. You can't just say, I don't want to design e-learning anymore, or e-learning isn't always the answer, which, most L&D folk, even myself as an internal L&D person, was like, I don't want to do e-learning. It's like, it doesn't matter. Just saying that isn't enough to make someone's not put in a request for it. And so in the conversations with Wix, human-centered design, how do we embrace that? And essentially, it was about enabling them to use our process. And I think I can't remember if this was in the submission actually, but I'm going, did I? Yeah. So what did we do? The very first thing we did with the team, who'd never done human-centered design before, whether it's a 5DI or a double diamond or whatever, never really even considered it as a thing. And so the whole premise is that you would want to observe and interrogate human behavior to really understand what is happening and how do you affect a change in that environment. So we did some kind of an abstract experience and say, well, in that world, to get from A to B, we'd put you on a shop floor in Wix and say, okay, go and talk to loads of people within a Wix store and go and watch how they work and all that kind of stuff. But when you've been in an organization so long, and not a year plus, I'm talking, it's like there's a lot of assumptions you make about how people operate in that organization because you've got the lived experience of doing that. So how did we break that cycle? Well, we took them to a zoo. We took them to Whipsnade Zoo, and we took them on the Zookeeper experience.
If you've been watching from the beginning, we did live stream from the zoo, I seem to remember.
We did. Oh, good. Yeah, that was technically quite challenging trying to get that set up. Without getting any other people in the background who didn't want to be recorded. But we did the Zookeeper experience with them, and we set them the challenge of understand how a zookeeper goes about their work on a daily basis. So the poor zookeeper on this Zookeeper experience was getting asked the levels of questions he'd never been asked before. And his colleagues as well were being asked these questions about, okay, so how do you do this? How does this work? And like really interrogated like the day-to-day work.
How do
rather
you
than
communicate with your team? How do you what's your working environment like? How do you have communication with your wider team? How do you work across zoos? How do you work with other zookeepers? Normally, I think he just gets asked, how
what's
old
your
are the
favorite
elephants?
elephant? Yeah, what's your favorite elephant? How old is it? What do they eat? What do they eat is a good one. It's like, where do you get the food? How do you prepare it? What time do you when do you feed them? All the working patterns and stuff like that. And so, the L&D team over at Wix, 7 people big, 7 people experiencing a day in the life of someone else's job, was able to actually build this kind of very useful profile of how people operate at the zoo. So therefore, if they were ever asked, okay, we want to do this, they would be able to say with some substance, okay, well, if you want to achieve that, or what we want to deliver this, well, if you deliver that, this is what will happen. Actually, what are you trying to achieve? And then I can suggest the best thing to achieve that. They had so much insight and experience from that they were able to then take away and design stuff for zookeepers. However, that's not that wasn't the MO, right? But that was the how do you, like you say, how do you ask the right questions? How do you think critically about what you're seeing? How do you act with that level of curiosity rather than any assumption? Which they then took back. We then after that we then did go to a store and we then did start interrogating. We did then start talking to people and understanding their working patterns and the levels of insight that they were getting. I just remember that in the back of that store that time when said, all we want you to do is everyone go and talk to someone different for 15 minutes, or I think it might have been 5
it's
minutes.
3 people for 5 minutes.
3 people for 5 minutes, and come back. And the excitement and insight they came back with that was going to apply to their projects that they were just about to do was incredible. And it didn't take a lot of time either. And so what we then started building is like, okay, they're in the Google ecosystem, right? So how with things like Gemini and Notebook LM are you able then to harness this insight that you've got and build an engine about it? So every time that you are starting a new project, you don't need to go and have lots of have lots of user conversations. You have a bank of stuff already you can draw upon and then add to and grow it essentially, and have this very intelligent database of the insight work that you've done, which is cross-functional as well. All these 7 L&D people, while they may be the same team, are all going off and doing individual projects. But what they have in common now is the insight bank that helps them to have a really good first pass at any request that comes in and understand, do we have the insight that we need to propose the right thing here, or do we need to go and get more insight, and using a tool that stakeholders are able to interrogate as well. So again, another very long answer, I apologize, but like it's very easy for a provider of any business service, and I'm not just going to HR and L&D, but any provider of HR, L&D, or any business service, say, this is the way your business should do it. It's like, fair enough, but have you actually tried to do that with an organization yourself and understand how difficult that is, rather than just going around saying this is the way business should operate? My one of my old bosses, when I was working in an agency, said that exactly. He's like, I love what you say and do. I get it. But do you know how impossible that would feel to achieve inside my organization, and why? And I was like, no, tell me. And then he listed all the things. I was like, yeah, it's probably not the right thing then, is it? And so you've got to create something to support businesses and functions that they can do whilst doing their existing job. And so that's why I felt what we did, was adding that value, because it wasn't trying to add loads more work. It wasn't. We were asking people to change and start doing things differently, but we were giving them the opportunity to try new things within the context of the projects that they were currently doing. That was the key thing, right? We weren't saying the abstract thing was the zoo experience, on paper, and we did an award submission last year that someone flipping went, oh yeah, taking an L&D team on a zoo experience, that's valuable. Some backhanded compliment about that, but it genuinely was. And so would I do it again? Absolutely. Because I think the journey we've taken that team on, and I still take them on, as active kind of builders of AI tools now, to do bigger and better things.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I think I'm probably most proud of that project and like the change and what we've managed to do there. And like you said, just making it part of business as usual, making it not heavy and not tricky. And okay, sure, there's probably some user researchers out there being like, oh, well, that's not proper research. Oh, it's not rigorous enough because you're doing X, Y, Z. And people go off on the democratization of user research and why it should only be done by a specialist. But I don't subscribe to that view at all. 'Cause I really think that, yeah, little knowledge can be dangerous. It can, but going in there with understanding of context, we talk about context all the time. AIs need context. People need context, because otherwise, how on earth can you design something? I do think there's a really interesting comparison between thinking about how to optimize for an AI and thinking about what a human needs. And I do think there's a lot of similarities. You have to give them the context. You have to give them a really clear task. Like, you have to be able to break it down and explain your expectations and things. Whether this is through research or whatever. And I know I'm definitely wandering off topic, but I think there's a huge thing about how we communicate to people in AI, and I wonder if it will change as time goes forward. But I have wandered off topic, so enough wandering and wondering and all of that. On to
Good luck.
the
Good luck with the AI transcription about picking the difference between those two words.
wonder and wander. I think it's like warrior and warrior are also really hard.
Warrior and warrior.
Warrior. I said the other
So
way around. Warrior, someone who worries, and a warrior, someone who fights.
good. Well, we're really testing the transcription now. So do bear
told,
with us.
told you, end of term vibes. So coming to the last question then, um, like what does it? We've gone for so many. I say so many. This is our fourth round of awards that we've gone for, and our first win. He's quickly counting. I think it's our fourth round of awards and our first win. And I will say that there's me being like, why are we even doing this? Like blah blah blah. But that's just the eternal pessimist that hides somewhere inside me. Toby, the eternal optimist, is like, of course I wouldn't do it if I didn't think we could win. But all that in mind, what does it mean to you to have won not one but two awards at the British Training Awards?
It just means that I can make my background look really, really cool.
You can't even see them, dude. Like they're
I
hidden.
know. It's because of the blue light. If I there you go. You can probably see them better if I change the color, right? But then my complexion gets all washed out. So, I did think about this. I was like, you know what? I'll pick up the awards and show you. But I've got some really bad shorts on, and I don't want to risk them being seen on camera. No, I'm not even gonna try. Like, they're just like, we all have like old bits of clothing that we go, we'd never wear those out the house.
And
But
why are you wearing them on the internet?
I'm not wearing them. Well, technically, I'm wearing them on the internet. I'm not wearing them visible on the internet. But anyway, shorts aside, what does it mean? It means a lot for two reasons. Number one, England got knocked out of the World Cup the same day, and so therefore the absolute joy that I had of winning these two awards with you and Wix meant that I woke up on Thursday morning, and a long story career of being an England fan, is just like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care about the football. And if you've ever seen how I react to England losses in the past, you just have to talk to Beth. As like, for me not to be really upset about it, like, it is quite weird. So either I have just experienced too much pain through England that I've stopped caring, or actually I feel like we've made such an accomplishment this week in having that recognition. I think the Wix one though is the Freeformers one is important, but the Wix one is even more important because it takes what Freeformers does and applies it in that business context. And it wasn't a grand, really expensive project. You know, I think some of the award wins that I've had previously before Freeformers, tens to hundreds of £1,000s for a project to deliver it. This was not that by any stretch of the imagination. And we were also doing it for them. We're empowering them, and so especially when we were doing it at the beginning of last year, if you said to someone, "We're going to build some AI tools to help you do loads of synthesis of themes that are in user interviews, and we're going to do that through the Zookeeper experience," I think on paper people would most likely say, "Go away! I'm going to spend my money on something else." But Lou and Nathan and the rest of the Wix team trusted us on taking that journey, and you know they're doing really great stuff now as a result. But I think, you know, you look at the judging panel and who's on the judging panel. These aren't loads of L&D and HR consultants. They are people inside organizations trying to affect probably a similar change that Wix are doing. And so not necessarily about the validation of it, but it's been the effort has been recognized. So yeah, I think, and look, quite bluntly, the competitive element in me, let's get real. The competitive element in me means I've wanted to win an award for a very, very long time. For something that I really care about. I've won awards before and like, just don't really. It's not like something I was really proud of. Won an award for something I'm proud of. A, building Freeformers with you, and B, doing something awesome with Wix. I have been close to winning awards for things I'm proud of and been like highly commended or silvers or bronzes, but like to actually win them and like, okay, I can retire now. No, I can't. But I said it in a LinkedIn post, I think on Thursday morning, that we are very bad, you and I, about pausing, reflecting, going, what have we done and what have we achieved? Because usually those moments aren't marked by anything. An end of a project, a really good, you know, proposal win, whatever, is all of that stuff just then leads to something else, right? There's okay, what next? And there's no like artifact or something that goes, that was a moment in time where you did something really good. We don't. It won't surprise you, or it might surprise you actually. We don't hand each other trophies for like these big moments. We say thank you. We say great job. That was awesome. And we go on to the next thing because we're incredibly impatient. So it forces you to have that moment. That's the thing I was reflecting on the train home after a good friend Joe Bailey got off at Ipswich and I carried on up to Dis. I had about 20 minutes to half an hour by myself. And that's what I thought. What do you think? What about you?
Oh, that was such a great place to leave it, Toby. What do I
All right,
think?
well, we'll see you after the summer break. Catch you all later.
Well, I for one am relieved because if I had to sit through yet another awards ceremony with you getting all like agitated and then really and then it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's clearly not fine. Yeah, I don't know why I do have to sit through another one of those. So there's that. I think I agree with you. The two that we won, I don't know. I'm really proud, and I think just being recognised by other people who don't really have a skin in the game, not who don't really, who do not have a skin in the game in Freeformers, because people around us are like, oh yeah, you're great, you're amazing, you're doing such good work, but they've all got a personal connection, a vested interest in us doing well. So to have someone objectively say, you're so good that we're going to give you an award is, I don't know, it is validating, it is reassuring, I'm proud of the work we've done. I'm just glad other people can see it too, because it is a lonely old job being we're not quite a team of two. We've got our freelancers and our associates and our cheerleaders and lots of wonderful people around us, and our families, definitely very supportive. But at the end of the day, it's not a big team, and if you don't do the work, no one does the work. And you just got to pick yourself up and carry on. And so I think it's really, like you said, nice to take a moment to pause and say, yeah, we did good.
Can I add one more thing and then we'll wrap up? By the way, just if there's anyone and it was any doubt, the article of this article of the week is going to be the article that announced that we won the 2 awards. We're very, very lazy with article of the week, but absolutely. I'm very late. Get it? Come on.
But also pointing out all the other wonderful winners as well, other wonderful submissions, because it's a competitive bunch, especially like Wix. So Wix, the L&D provider of the year, I think there were 13. Like they'd cram them to 13 finalists. They crammed them all on the screen, and we're going 1, 2, 3. And then Wix was the last one that came up, because they all come up and then they all disappear one by one.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and our favorite game is who's going to win this one, especially for the categories we're not in. And then they were all going and they were all going and they were all going and they were all going. And so we're like, oh my goodness, it was us. So it was quite it's a bit hair raising that. But yeah, the fact that there were so many, particularly an L&D team of the year, there's so many great people doing such amazing work within learning. I think, definitely worth going checking out the other teams and what they're up to too.
And I think, we talked about the wins, but, Galt and Crystal Care Collection as well, clients that have trusted us with doing something a bit different. And I think the issue that we've had over the past couple of years is that we're not necessarily playing in a lane or an area that is well defined, if that makes sense. There isn't like I think Lucy Porter said it best about one of the sponsors' websites. I think the phrase was evolutionary workforce designers, and she said,
He said, we're not trainers.
We're not trainers, we're evolutionary workforce. And she said, that's a shame because I know what a trainer is. And I think, for that organization and ourselves, when you're trying to define and create not necessarily a new market, but a new way of doing stuff, regardless of how you articulate it, it's not going to be common vernacular. So therefore, people will really struggle to understand it. And I think that's the journey that we've been on, as well as doing training, right? Is that we've tried to talk about this approach. And it's like, well, how do you talk about this approach when it doesn't exist? It doesn't exist. Human-centered design, I know exists, but the approaches that we take have not really existed. And so how do you talk about it? And, the other thing that I'm really proud of is some of the data work we're doing. And that's the thing that baffles me, because we started with data stuff, I think, was kind of that thing. And now we're realizing some of the maturity about our approach with data as well, which is just like baffling that we kind of got these two things happening at the same time that are linked, but who you talk to and how you enact that work inside an organization is vastly different. And so that someone was able to read some submissions and go, oh, I get it. That's pretty huge, because before, I think last year before, in Freeformers timeline, we'd have been able to write about it, but I don't think anyone on the other end of that note, that email, that award submission would have fully got it. So I think we're now getting to the point where we can define it, and also we've done it. We've done it ourselves, we've done it for clients, and we've done it with clients. And we know the approach works, and it will only get better, which is very cool. So we'll go for it next year as well. Much to your dismay that if we do get shortlisted, we'll have to go all over again. But there we go.
It's just because you get so stressed by it. That's
I get stressed
why.
by everything. I think I'm addicted to stress. I kind of had this thought and feeling last night because I was watching The Bear, and I know you haven't watched The Bear.
Is that the Leonardo
But
DiCaprio thing or the cooking thing?
no, that's The Revenant, where he
It's
gets
got a bear in it.
where it's got a bear in it. Yeah. So my
But
descriptions
that's
of
the
the
cooking thing, right? With Gordon Ramsay.
no,
No?
no, no. Jeremy Allen White is in, and an amazing ensemble. So anyway, it's about a restaurant in Chicago, and it's really it's a really stressful environment. But it was the final season, the final episode. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but like there was this, all the stress was worth it. And I cried. I cried last night because I was like, I miss that level of stress within a kitchen and the relief you get after you've had a hard shift. But we still get that level of stress doing what we're doing. And that stress is now vastly different to what it was 2 years ago, certainly. It's a nice stress. Like, I like the stress that we have at the moment. Like, I not saying you have to or should do, but I thrive in that, and I really enjoy it. So, I apologize for you having to work with me, who's trying to run a business like it's cooking in a very, very intense kitchen environment. Probably one for another episode, I imagine.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So I was expecting you to wrap up because you opened as
Oh,
well.
who's yeah? So, in summary, we won 2 awards. I cried at a TV show last night. We're very both proud of what we've done with ourselves and our clients. That's pretty much this episode. Thank you for anyone that's kind of listened and watched along so far in the first half this year. We made a commitment at the beginning of the year that we're going to try and do this more, so much so that we're going to do it every week. And I think, barring a few missing, we've
I
pretty
think
much
we've
done
missed
it.
2 from both
Missed 2.
from you, which is not bad going.
Yeah. So we sit here at episode 20 to round out the summer. We will be back in September. We will be doing more of these. We hope you enjoy it. And if you're listening on podcast as well, go back and find the zoo episode. It must be on there somewhere. It's an incredibly short episode because of those technical challenges. But for all those comments that people have put in, thank you so much for the comments on the post. I haven't managed to respond to any of the comments on the award win post yet. I will do it. So I'm not using this to like circumnavigate that, but thank you to everyone that's put on it. And also Sarah Allen posted on the live stream about 40 minutes ago saying, "I dare you, Emilie," and I have no idea what that's for. That would have been about 3 minutes into the live stream. So what I'm going to do after this is going to go watch that. So sorry that I didn't reply to you, Sarah. I literally just seen that comment because I had the award submissions open. But anyway, we will be back in September. I'm very much looking forward to it. Very looking forward to some time off as well. And so we will see you all in September for more Freeformers Unplugged. Bye for now.
Bye for now.